I rise as the designee for the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Conyers.
Does the gentleman offer the amendment?
I do offer the amendment.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 19, printed in House Report number 111-370, offered by Mr. Marshall of Georgia.
Pursuant to House Resolution 964, the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Marshall, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Georgia.
I thank the Speaker. This is an amendment which is identical to a bill passed by the House earlier this year in March. The bill permits what's referred to as cram down in Chapter 13 with regard to private home mortgages. It is intended to address this foreclosure crisis without taxpayers having to put money into the deal. It essentially forces the parties to the deal to deal with their problems without having vacancies and foreclosures in our neighborhoods. In that sense, it helps all lenders with real estate portfolios. It helps the individuals whose homes might be foreclosed upon, and it actually helps the creditor who is forced into a Chapter 13 process, because in almost every instance, their portfolio is improved by not having as many houses in foreclosure, and in almost every instance, they get a better deal in a Chapter 13 process than they would in a normal foreclosure process. We should have done this long ago. It would have helped the housing crisis and consequently the economy of the country. I compliment Mr. Miller from North Carolina. This is originally his bill. He's been pushing this for several years. I also compliment Ms. Lofgren from California, who couldn't be here today because of family matters, because she has been a real stalwart moving this forward. And with that, I'll reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from Virginia rise?
To claim the time in opposition.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I, at this time, am pleased to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Smith, the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Goodlatte, the deputy ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, for yielding me time. Madam Chairwoman, those who confront mortgage foreclosures are understandably in a difficult situation, but this bankruptcy amendment will only lead to a worse situation for everyone. The number one cause of foreclosures today is job loss. The number two cause is homes that are mortgaged for more than they are worth. Sending homeowners with these problems into Chapter 13 bankruptcy is no solution at all. The jobless do not have the steady income that is required to file for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And those who bet wrong on a rising housing market should honor the mortgages for which they freely contracted. Allowing bankruptcy courts to cram down mortgage principal will only lead to higher interest rates and tougher mortgage terms for all future homeowners. Why should those who have done nothing wrong have to pay that price? I'll yield back.
The gentleman yields. The gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
I yield myself such time as I may consume, and just a couple of observations. If in fact you are jobless and don't have income, you're not eligible for Chapter 13, and consequently you won't be able to cram down. It's those who do have jobs, who do have income, who could survive if they had the opportunity to restructure their debt, who would be eligible, and it's only those folks. As far as increasing the cost of credit is concerned, this bill provides that it is retroactive. It doesn't apply to future credit. Many, many experts have looked at this and concluded that it will not increase the cost of future credit. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I recognize myself for 2 minutes. First, to say that the gentleman from Georgia may assert that this will benefit creditors, but I know a few creditors who extend home mortgage loans that favor this legislation. Our country has fallen into a serious economic recession, a recession that is worsened by the foreclosure crisis. Until we address the rising number of foreclosures, it will be difficult for the economy to recover. Unfortunately, this bankruptcy amendment, which I don't think belongs in this legislation to begin with, not only fails to solve the foreclosure crisis, but also will make the crisis deeper, longer, and wider. Allowing bankruptcy courts to modify home mortgages will have adverse consequences for all while providing little real relief to distressed borrowers. Bankruptcy cram-down will invariably lead to higher interest rates and less generous borrowing terms for future borrowers. The gentleman may claim that it won't affect future borrowers, but the fact of the matter is, if this can be done now for this purpose, the advocates of this legislation would like to see this made in the future a permanent provision in our bankruptcy laws, and it will have the effect of causing interest rates to go up and credit to be less available. Unemployment has been a driving factor behind most foreclosures, but because individuals without regular income may not file for bankruptcy under Chapter 13, cram-down will do nothing for those most in need of relief, the unemployed. Additionally, many borrowers walk away from their homes not because they can't afford their monthly payments, but because their homes are mortgaged for more than they're worth. These borrowers should live with the responsibility for their decisions, not receive bailouts from bankruptcy courts. Furthermore, we must not forget that cram-down will not only impact lenders, but investors as well. These investors often include pension funds representing the retirement savings of millions. We should not pass the cost of irresponsible borrowing and lending off on current and future retirees. I yield myself an additional 30 seconds.
The gentleman is recognized for 30 seconds.
There is no reason to allow mortgage cram-down with its attendant high costs, considering it will produce only modest results at best. If we pass this amendment, what message does it send to the 90% of homeowners who are making their payments on time? How can we ask them to foot the bill for their neighbors' mortgages? What do homeowners think they pay back the full amount of the principal they owe, while others receive a government reduction in principal? We need to do everything we can to help solve the foreclosure crisis, but we must avoid measures like cram-down that punish the successful, tax the responsible, and hold no one accountable. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yield myself such time as I may consume. To other homeowners, we should say that your home values won't decline as rapidly because there won't be as many vacancies. We're not asking you to put a dime into the deal. No taxpayer dollars go into the deal at all. To those who cannot afford Chapter 13, obviously some other remedy is called for than this. But to those who can afford a Chapter 13, you're helping everybody by filing a Chapter 13. And having spent years in this business, creditors will not be harmed and the cost of credit will not go up. And that's particularly true because in this bill it only applies to existing mortgages. It doesn't apply to future mortgages. So it's widely conceded that the cost of credit will not go up. This is truly a win-win. I was originally opposed. I've been in this business for a long time. I had a change of heart. The change of heart focuses on the crisis that we're in right now. You can go to my website, and on the front page of the website, those who are interested will find a detailed explanation why this is absolutely the right thing to do. And with that, it seems to me I've responded to everything that the gentleman from Virginia has said, so I will reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Virginia is recognized.
Madam Chairman, I will yield 1.5 minutes to the gentleman from California, Mr. Lundgren, a member of the committee.